If I speak in the tongues of mortals and angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I have nothing. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be leading today's service, and I would like to welcome each of you into the church. So lovely to see everybody here today in person, and also a big hello and a wave to people on Zoom. Hope you can see me and hear me loud and clear. And basically, welcome. If it's your first time here, and a special extra loving welcome to you too. You're very, very welcome. I hope today each of you are feeling loved wherever you are. And if you're feeling heavy in spirit or heart, then I really hope this service provides you with some comfort. Now, those opening words today were no doubt recognizable by many of you. They are from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, first verses of chapter 13, commonly known as the gift of love, and very often heard at weddings, I'm sure, still. I chose those words as today. I wanted to invite us all to reflect on love, what it means to love, and to be loved. But before that, I will now light our chalice, as we do at each service, as a symbol of our free religious faith. The light is a reminder of the divine spark that we each have within us. And I invite you at home, if you do have a candle, to do light it as well. Well, I relight a match. Apologies. That's what I thought. I usually use a lighter. Symbol of light and knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. Those words originated with Reverend Tom Goldsmith, who was the first Unitarian minister for 34 years in Salt Lake City, and he used that chalice lighting every Sunday for worship for 34 years, which I think is amazing. What I would like to invite us to do now is sing our first hymn. Those of you who were here a couple of weeks ago, we sang it a couple of weeks ago, but just with a piano accompaniment. So I would urge you to sing loudly and proudly. It's number 98 in the Purple Hymn Book, Love Will Guide Us. If you're at home, or if you want to, obviously in the church, the words will appear on the screen for you. Thank you, everyone. So, as I said, today I wanted us to take some time to reflect on love. The reason for that is tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day, and it seemed an appropriate service theme. So, nowadays, when I think of Valentine's, it's generally a time when people give gifts and cards to illustrate their love to friends and family and significant others if they have one. And people spend the time doing things that they enjoy with loved ones in honor of the day. So it is really a day, I feel, where love has the spotlight. And then it had me thinking, but what is love? Now, I'm not expecting us to answer that today as a big question. And I started to think, and one thing I always start thinking about is back when I was at college and we learned about the ancient Greeks and philosophers like Plato and Aristotle, when they were thinking about love, they came up with different forms of love and they kind of like categorized them. So they mentioned familial love, so love between your family members, the love of friendship, self-love, and of course, romantic love, amongst others. When we go out, I urge you to do this later on if you go out today or at TV, radio, you'll notice that the imagery used for Valentine's in mainstream advertising tends to bring to mind romantic love, promoting bouquets of red roses, boxes of chocolates, and weekend breaks. I thought back to emails I've had this week, and I've had a couple where they're offering me, a romantic weekend getaway, or somebody else was urging, maybe if it's a bit of self-love, maybe I'd like a nice hot bath, and don't you know it, they've got just the bath salts I could buy. But then there are other aspects. So you've got kindness. I did have one email from a charity recommending that to honor the day, I could carry out a random act of kindness on a stranger. Yeah. I don't know how some people feel if I just gave them a bouquet of roses. I'm not going to do that, though. So obviously people's understandings and interpretations of love is very broad. And our understanding of love and our desire to explore this theme, I think, has continued into the 21st century. So if you go into a bookstore, into the cinema, you will be near guaranteed to find something that includes the theme of love as a central aspect. So we are still very much asking ourselves this question: what is love? And I know I said not 1 minute ago probably that I wasn't going to get us to answer that question today. But those of you here, you may have noticed that you do have a little heart on your chair, and hopefully those of you joining us on Zoom have been, I was going to say forewarned, but that sounds ominous, said today about potentially having a writing implement and piece of paper on this. So I was inspired a few weeks ago when Jennifer visited us and she gave us a piece of paper and we were asked to consider, I think it was a particular incident, something that had happened to us that meant something, a kind of turning point in our lives. And we were writing down qualities as a community of what we could offer the church. So I would like us now to do another activity. I invite you to spend a few minutes, literally a couple of minutes in silence, where we can think about love. And specifically, when I say the words true love, what comes to mind? Okay, so just sit, ground yourself, and we'll just have some silence while we do that. And I invite you to write that down, but under no obligation. Thank you. Okay, I can see a couple of people are still writing in the church, but I just want to reassure you I'm still here. I haven't fallen asleep or anything. So what I would like to do now, if you'd like to, obviously there is no right or wrong. I'm just, I call it curious, but some people may say nosy, about what you have written. Perhaps I think about whether you wrote down particular colors, places, names, memories, or perhaps you wrote more about like the qualities and characteristics of love. For example, like Paul's first letter to those early Christians in Corinth, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude, and it rejoices in the truth and endures all things. I mean, perhaps you thought of love more in its active form, volunteering or charity work, or maybe it was something far more light-hearted, like giving your last Rolo to somebody. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but it was when I was growing up. So I invite you now, if you'd like to, come up to the lectern and share what you wrote, and perhaps say a little about why you wrote it. And obviously that is extended to those of you on Zoom. If you would like to share, then we can spotlight you on the screen. If you would just like to make it clear that you would like to share, so we can do that. So if first of all, I invite people in the church, just so people on Zoom can make themselves aware that they'd like to join, then please, if you feel moved to, please come up here.
I think the Rev knows what I'm going to say anyway. Love, a bridge between your heart and mine.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Love is when things happen and your first thought is how they will affect your loved ones, not about you.
Around the outside of my heart, I've written family, partner, friends. And I've said faithfulness, connection, friendship, even in diversity, valuing beyond yourself, giving and receiving. Beautiful. And a little kiss at the bottom I've put.
Lovely, to seal the deal. Thank you.
Really echoing what the previous people have said. True love, putting the loved one's needs above one's own. And then I also thought there was an old pop song that said something about true love as well.
Overcoming one's ego or egoistic inclinations. Forgiving if one is wronged or abused. Having empathy towards suffering creatures, whether they be human or animal.
Thank you, Krista.
I think there's so many ways to express love in our daily life. I put 3 things. Going the extra mile, because it's really easy to do just enough in any situation. It's just thinking, how can I do a little bit more in this way? Patience in the face of adversity. I suppose that brings in forgiveness as well. If you feel you've been wronged or something's really hard, you just have to have patience with the situation. And the last one I've put is sharing another's misfortune. A problem shared is a problem halved.
Hello. Joan says, what is true love? All love is true. Edgar says, Aristotle's words always come to mind. Love is a single soul inhabiting 2 bodies. I have always found it so inspiring and so challenging too. Kate Snewin says, true love lives in the body, not just the mind. It is given and accepted freely. It doesn't have to be spoken to be true. It includes ourselves. Bob says, quick reflection. Love isn't permanent. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. It is appreciated. And thank you for Kate for reading those out. I just thought it'd be nice to share and hear each other's thoughts on the subject. Okay. I did have a couple of quotes just in case nobody wanted to share, which I will read anyway because they're here. The first one is by Rumi, or from Rumi. Love is the bridge between you and everything. And one from John O'Donoghue. You can never love another person unless you are equally involved in the beautiful but difficult spiritual work of learning to love yourself. So it's not, even though today's subject theme is true love, it's kind of a double theme because as well as tomorrow the 14th being St. Valentine's Day, the 15th is Nirvana Day. And it isn't like my husband thought the day we're going to listen to the band Nirvana all day. I had to correct him. It is a day where world-round Buddhists remember the Buddha and the fact that on this date he is said to have died at the age of 80, entering Nirvana after reaching enlightenment at the age of 40, but staying and teaching for 40 years and sharing that wisdom with others. A lot of people will get together and meditate either as a group, as a community, or they may just reflect on how his life can influence theirs and whether they're living the way they want to. So the reason I mention Nirvana Day and the Buddha's teaching is because in a bit, I would like to share a bit more about the Buddha's understanding of love and two aspects of that which I really try to live by and which I'd like to share with you in a bit. But before that, we have today's story. And Kate is going to kindly read today's story. It's called The Golden Rule and is written by Unitarian Universalist Ilene Cooper.
Maya was 8 years old and had rules to follow all day long. At school, there were special rules. At school, Maya had to raise their hand to talk, could only eat if it was lunch or snack time, needed a bathroom pass if they wanted to go to the bathroom, and were not allowed to copy anyone else's work. Maya also had special rules at home. Maya had to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They were never allowed to hit their younger sibling, even if their sibling hit first. They had to eat vegetables. And they could watch television for half an hour every day. There were also special rules at their congregation. Maya was not allowed to run during coffee hour, had to talk in an indoor voice. They had to, or were expected to be friendly and welcoming to everyone. Maya was sick and tired of all these rules. One day, Maya decided they wanted to just follow one rule, one very important rule, to take the place of all those other rules. So Maya asked their uncle Guna what he thought was the most important rule of all. And he told them that in his religion, Hinduism, it is said, "This is the sum of duty, to do nothing to others which would cause them pain." Maya asked their next door neighbour, Claire, what they thought was the most important rule of all. And Claire said that a teacher from the Buddhist religion had said, "Do not do to others what would hurt you." Maya asked their best friend, Adam. And Adam told Maya that at their Jewish synagogue, they learned that Hebrew scripture teaches, "You shall love thy neighbour as thyself." And another friend, Maria, said they learned the same rule at her Catholic church. Maya asked her friend, Malik, what they thought was the most important rule, and Malik said, "In Islam, people say, none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself." Maya asked their Uncle Greg what he thought was the most important rule. And Uncle Greg said that when he does pagan magic, he always follows the rule, "An ye harm none, do what you will." He told Maya this means he cannot do anything that would hurt another living being. Maya thought about all the answers and wrote them down one at a time. This is the sum of duty, to do nothing to others which would cause them pain, from Hinduism. Do not do to others what would hurt you, Buddhism. Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself, Jewish and Christian. None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself, Islam. And ye harm none, do what you will, neo-pagan. So on Sunday morning, Maya took this list of rules to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. And Maya showed it to the minister, Rev Marta, and asked Rev Marta which rule she thought was most important. And Rev Marta said, I notice that these rules are all very similar. They are different versions of a rule some people call the Golden Rule. What do you think is the most important rule? Maya paused for a moment, then said slowly, I think love is the Golden Rule. When we are loving, then we do not hurt other people or cause them pain. We wish for others what we wish for ourselves, and we love our neighbours as ourselves. That sounds like the most important rule to me, Rev Marta agreed. Love is the Golden Rule.
Thank you, Kate. That was lovely. So I agree with what Maya and Rev Marta said about love being the golden rule. And I think it's one we should apply to all beings, like Crystal said, whether they're human or animal, as well as the world we live in, our planet. We're just going to have a brief look. If you can see on the screen, hopefully I will disappear for Zoomers. There we go. This painting, you may have seen it before. It's by Norman Rockwell. It's called Golden Rule, and it shows a group of people, different religions and backgrounds and ethnicities together, and then the inscription, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, at the front there. So after a full life of travelling, where Norman had always felt welcomed all around the world, he was studying comparative religion, and he felt that this rule reflected his own value system. I just wanted to share that. It came to mind when I was thinking of the service. I came across this painting when I was at college studying religion, and I sought out a print of it myself because I felt it echoed my own beliefs, and I thought it was a beautiful image of unity at the heart of mankind, I suppose, and love is the center of everything we do. So I just wanted to share that, to save you looking at me for a second, really. Okay. So, for me, love cannot be separated from my understanding of the divine, because much like the story, I see love and the divine as my sustaining force, really. You may find that for yourself as well. And I find that guides me. And when I look at the story, I find that explains it. It's our what, but I feel it doesn't really give us the how, because obviously saying love is the golden rule is wonderful, but it doesn't really tell us how we can. Obviously, earlier on, we had a small snippet from Corinthians, and obviously that tells us a bit more about love, kind of unpacks it. And obviously your sharing from your own words today, again, helps us define it a bit more. But I found my how in the Buddhist tradition. Vietnamese Buddhist Thich Nhat Hanh wrote wrote a book. He wrote many, many books, but he wrote a specific book called True Love, which is what inspired the title of today's service. And within that book, he explores the 4 elements of love from the Buddhist perspective, from the Buddhist teachings. And he has recommendations on how we can cultivate these elements of love. And if anyone hasn't read it, bit of a spoiler alert, his recommendation is adopting a regular meditation practice. Not really a surprise, given he is one of the main fathers of mindfulness and meditations in the West. So just sorry to ruin that if you weren't aware. However, I'm not about to suggest that that is what we all need to do. I appreciate that it isn't necessarily practical. Some people find it hard to meditate for whatever reason. Besides having a regular meditation practice, I do believe we can develop the skills in our day-to-day interactions with other people and ourselves. And I'd like to talk a bit about that now. So these 4 elements of true love in the Buddhist tradition are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and freedom. For today, I'll be focusing on loving kindness and compassion, as they've been the cornerstone of my own practice. So, loving kindness, to me, it's the capacity to offer happiness. And by practicing it, you are able to open your heart and offer happiness to yourself as well as others, regardless of your relationship with them. Now, according to the Buddha, the key to offering happiness and therefore loving kindness is through understanding. So to practice true love, we really need to understand ourselves and others at a deep level. Thinking back to the story, and obviously when it was saying about how to love, not cause others harm or pain, that's all very well, but if you do not understand what causes someone pain and suffering, or what their deepest dreams or aspirations are, you will not truly know them. So how can you go about loving them, if that makes sense? Yeah. If we think about how we can go about doing this, and perhaps thinking about a traditional meditation practice, there's one simple way I think we can do this above all others, and that's to be attentive, which I was not on my way here earlier, as a couple of you know, standing in a puddle and getting a wet foot. Often in conversation, we are only partially paying attention. Perhaps we're thinking about what we're going to say in response. Perhaps in our mind, we're already disagreeing with what the person is saying. Or perhaps we're thinking of something else we need to do that day or what we're going to have for dinner. Listening attentively, though, sends a powerful message to the person talking. It says to them, in no uncertain terms, you matter, and what you are saying matters. Which I think is amazing when you think about it, so simple. But it's hard, it can be hard. We all live busy lives these days, and obviously your attention can sway. Besides that, I think there is another tool which I think we can adopt with practice, and that's asking questions. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing. We're very polite and sometimes we don't like to ask questions. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that classic, how are you okay? And the person answering, and it's like you haven't even asked anything. That class, yes, I'm fine, but maybe they're not. So I would say ask twice. Whether you can apply that to your life, ask twice. So this doesn't just apply to those interactions with others. It applies to you too. Ask yourself how you are and really listen. Whether that's in the morning when you're having your morning tea or coffee, just check in with yourself. How am I? And don't be put off if you don't answer. Perhaps you're shy or you haven't been asked in such a long time. You don't want to say anything. One thing I would say is I think that meditation practices and developing these kind of active listening skills do take time. and they are a long lifetime commitment, really. And there is always room to develop or maintain your abilities. Obviously, just because you reach it doesn't mean you can stay up there. Like anything, is it like exercise? You think you're very good at yoga or whatever, and then you leave it for a couple of weeks. You try to do a downward dog, and you're definitely not. You're down. You aren't coming back up. Maybe. With active listening, what I would say is, I remember we had with some of you before on a call. I doubt you remember, but I remember we were talking about a particular political person a year or so ago, and I gave the advice then, which I will give now. I would say, if you're talking to somebody and it's somebody who perhaps you have a fraught relationship with, or you find it difficult to listen to them, what you might want to do is remind yourself that they were a baby once, which isn't like, you know, like with you when you're talking to somebody in public, you know, imagine your audience is naked. It's not that kind of advice. It does work. If you imagine them as a baby, and that they were an innocent child, and along their way, they have learned at some point that love is not enough, that they are not enough as they are. And I find that thinking of that and keeping that in your heart when they're speaking or when they're near you really does have a positive impact. Going back to the listening as well, I would say try it. Obviously, in the mornings, you might get up and you have a drink and you might be listening to your partner and they're saying something that's really interesting. Maybe you're talking about your upcoming holiday, so you are active listening. But if they're saying something that isn't interesting, try to catch yourself, stop, and focus and talk to them. Ask a question to make it interesting. And that probably sounds a bit silly. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I try and grasp, sorry. What I was going to say about the child aspect. Under their anger or jealousy or fear is someone deserving of love. And you can remind them of that by looking at them, by listening, hearing, showing them that they matter. And I would say by doing that, you are harnessing the second element, compassion. Compassion helps ease pain and can transform suffering. Like loving kindness, we can improve our ability to be compassionate by being attentive, by listening, seeing, and hearing others deeply. Having knowledge and understanding of others helps us see how small caring action can have huge impact. And by being more present during interactions with others, you are more likely to notice the opportunities for compassionate action. If we think back to today's story, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Like my own experiences, I'm sure, confident that all of you will have saw or heard how during lockdown, for many people, it unlocked a deep compassionate nature within many. During lockdown, thousands of people and their busy routines were interrupted. And this provided them with that space, that time and opportunity to notice what was going around them, to notice who was around them. People all around the world were reported to be practicing acts of kindness and helping ease the world's pain by reaching out to neighbors and communities in considerate, loving ways. Even people whose routine was busier, not quieter, were doing this. I remember there were various news articles highlighting key workers who, after or before their day job, were helping out at food banks or walking the pets of housebound neighbors. By applying love, whilst being fully present and noticing another's difficulty, we are guided naturally to lend a helping hand or a listening ear. I think the key thing to keep in mind is that love, true love, is not some abstract concept or something that can be achieved through status or a meal out, for example, on Valentine's. Real, true love requires a commitment of active participation, wherein first you recognize the divine nature within yourself, and then you can recognize it in others. Once you see this, then you can make time to send happiness out into the world and make an effort to interact in an attentive, caring way. But like all practical exercises, training is required, I'm afraid. To love truly and deeply, we need to put the work in to see results, but the results are worth it. I think we will all agree on that. True love is the gift which keeps on giving. In loving ourselves and loving others as ends in themselves, as opposed to means to an end, then those we love pass on the love to others. We will now have today's prayer, which was inspired by Corinthians chapter 13. After the prayer, there will be a period of silent reflection, and some accompanying music will follow the silent period. I welcome Kate back up to read today's prayer. It's called Prayer of Commitment and is written by writer Holley Gerth.
This prayer is inspired by 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 to 13. So let us pray. Lord, because love is patient, help me to be slow to judge, but quick to listen. Hesitant to criticize, but eager to encourage. Remembering your endless patience with me. Because love is kind, help my words to be gentle and my actions to be thoughtful. Remind me to smile and to say please and thank you, because those little things still mean so much. Because love does not envy or boast and is not proud. Help me have a heart that is humble and sees the good in others. May I celebrate and appreciate all that I have and all that I am, as well as doing the same for those around me. Because love is not rude or self-seeking. Help me to speak words that are easy on the ear and on the heart. When I'm tempted to get wrapped up in my own little world, remind me there's a great big world out there, full of needs and hurts. Because love is not easily angered and keeps no record of wrongs. Help me to forgive others as you have forgiven me. When I want to hold onto a grudge, gently help me release it, so I can reach out with a hand of love instead. Because love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth, help me stand up for what is right and good. May I defend the defenseless and help the helpless. Show me how I can make a difference. Because love always protects and always trusts. Help me to be a refuge for those around me. When the world outside is harsh and cold, may my heart be a place of acceptance and warmth. Finally, because love always perseveres, help my heart continually beat with love for you and others. Thank you for showing us what the word love really means. Amen.
Thank you for Kate for reading the prayer. Much appreciated. I would now like to invite Joan, who's with us on Zoom, to read a poem by Thich, Nhat, Hanh called You Are Me. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you, Poppy. You Are Me by Thich, Nhat, Hanh. You are me and I am you. It is obvious that we are into R. You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you do not have to suffer. I support you. You support me. I am here to bring you peace. You are here to bring me joy. Thank you.
Many thanks to Joan for her beautiful reading. Thank you. As you've all been sat for a while, and obviously peacefully a moment ago, I just urge you, because I'm going to lead a guided meditation in a second. So I urge you, if you want to get up, have a quick stretch, because just so you're comfortable and you're sitting, no obligation to. If you wish not to, that's fine. So I'll just quickly be sharing a part of a meditation taken from Zen teacher Ezra Veda's book, Being Zen. It's from his chapter on loving kindness. The actual meditation in the book incorporates 4 different rounds. The first is orientated towards yourself. The second and third are towards people that you know. And the final round is to all beings. And this morning I would just like to share with you the first round, as we've already discussed, or hopefully, almost impossible to love others when you do not love yourself. So I invite you to get comfortable, and if it's open to you, then close your eyes. To begin, if you take a few deep breaths so you can feel grounded. With each breath, you feel your connection to the earth, either through your feet or sit bones. With each in-breath, let your awareness go a bit deeper. And whatever you feel, just be aware of that. You may notice that your breath is warm or cold, open or constricted. Try not to dwell. Just acknowledge whatever you're aware of, and then bring your focus back to your breath. On your next inhale, bring your awareness to your heart region. And as you exhale, say to yourself, may I dwell in the open heart. Repeat this line a few times as you exhale for the next 3 rounds of breath. Any sensations or feelings that arise, notice them and then return your awareness to your breath. May I dwell in the open heart. On your next inhale, again, bring your awareness to your heart region. And as you exhale, say to yourself, may I attend to whatever clouds the heart. Become aware of any feelings that rise to the surface that may be blocking access to your heart, perhaps anger, fear, or self-judgment. Extend warmth and love to each of them, and then return to your breath. And then, as before, repeat the sentence with each exhale, but continue to send love and warmth to any sensation before returning your focus to your breath. May I attend to whatever clouds the heart. Continue breathing into the heart region, and then on your next exhale say, may I be awake in this moment, just as it is. Allow your awareness to include the sounds, smells, any thoughts or physical sensations. Let life be just as it is for these few breaths. When your attention starts to wander, bring it back to your breath, but without judgment. May I be awake in this moment, just as it is. Focusing on your heart space, exhale with the words, may the awakened heart be extended to all things. As you say this, specific people or things may come to mind. If they do, then send them love and warmth, and then return your attention to your breath. Repeat this line as you focus on your breath in and out of the heart space. May the awakened heart be extended to all things. We will now repeat the whole round. I will read each line and allow some space between them for you to repeat each new line to yourself a few times before moving on. The practice will then end with me reading this round in full, followed by 3 deep breaths. May I dwell in the open heart. May I attend to whatever clouds the heart. May I be awake in this moment, just as it is. May the awakened heart be extended to all things. May I dwell in the open heart. May I attend to whatever clouds the heart. May I be awake in this moment, just as it is. May the awakened heart be extended to all beings. So now that you've opened your heart, I invite you to share that love with our second hymn today, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Again, it's in the Purple Book, number 208. Thank you. In a moment, we will have our blessing and today's closing music, and then Sheila will come up and give us our church notices. After a short break to wet our whistle, we will then be having the congregational meeting after the service, and all are welcome to stay for this, whether online or in person. Just before that, though, I would like to tell you about a really simple practice which you can take away with you and complete in a matter of seconds to reconnect and open your heart. It is called Just Like Me, and I find it helps me keep my heart open if I found myself getting irritated when I'm out and about. So it's very simple, as I said. As you go about your day, later or perhaps next week, with Valentine's or Nirvana Day in mind, make an effort to remember wherever you are and where there are others, at the doctor's, at the supermarket, or at work, just say to yourself, this person in front of me, walking beside me or driving behind me, wants to be happy. They have sorrows, joys, challenges. They want to be loved, and they want to love, just like me. Divine Spirit, may you help us recognize true love when we see it, and support us as we learn to love ourselves in a compassionate way. Open our eyes and hearts so we are attentive to others, be they friend, family, or stranger on life's journey. Give us patience and kindness so we may take the time to understand and appreciate how your divine nature exists in all beings. May we honor the world by showing gratitude and appreciation for its generous life-sustaining gifts. Let us go forth in love with unity in our hearts. Let us light the world aflame with love, so that wherever there is darkness, light shines strongly. Namaste. The divine light in me recognizes the divine light in you. God bless.